Hi, Evelyn here. Today I'm going to take another social mistake and break it down and look at why it's not okay to teach autistic kids social skills. So here's an example that's kind of used to justify teaching autistic people social skills a lot of the time. So here's the example. Melissa loves Spiderman. She approaches some kids from her school in a local playground and starts telling them everything she knows about Spiderman, and the other kids run off. Okay, so that's the example that's given. And the idea is, of course, Melissa's autistic. And if we start from the point that Melissa's at fault, then we wind up going down a very different path to taking a neuro-affirming or just very human approach to what has happened here. So we have to acknowledge that human communication is not perfect. Miscommunications happen, but we're kind of conditioned to look for blame. You know, we always often blame the other person, or maybe we blame ourselves, as opposed to just accepting that like miscommunication is a part of human life and then working together through it. So my approach would be to talk about this with kids and teens, talk about how we miscommunicate and how we can work together to minimize the miscommunication. You know, just accept this happens. Why is it happening? What can we do about it? So what if we start in a different place? What if we get connected with each other? What if we apply my 6 S's of social interaction and start to really delve into the factors that affect human communication? It's kind of 6 S's means we're taking an eagle-eye view of human communication rather than just starting at the point where people meet. So let's try that. Now, I'm going to ask some questions. I'm not going to answer them. These are to give you an idea of how we can explore human communication in a different way. And look, self-reflecting is a big part of my life, and I'm sure it is for many of you, particularly if you're a practitioner. You're going to have a lot of reflection in your practice. So let's ask some questions. Why do the other kids run off? What's happening there? What happened to them? And we autistic people talk about our sensory systems and anxiety responses and all that kind of stuff. So what has happened for the other kids? Are we living in a sexist world where Spiderman is for boys? Maybe this isn't cool. Maybe this is not appropriate for Melissa to like Spiderman so much. So we have to look at our culture as well when we're exploring miscommunications. And we can go back a bit and see, well, what do the other kids think about Melissa already? We know she's on her own in the playground, but they're in a group. So what does that tell us? Next question, how is Melissa treated at school? These kids know her from school, so have these kids witnessed some well-intentioned othering going on? Because I'm often asked, how do we teach kids to be more accepting? I'm like, well, by example. There's no point teaching kids to be inclusive if we're unintentionally othering autistic kids, because the children around them will obviously pick up on that. And if adults doing it, well, it's okay for us to do it. So I doubt Melissa's aim here was to make potential friends run away. So what was she actually trying to do? And that's really important, because sometimes people think, oh, autistic people don't want interaction or don't know how to interact and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, Melissa obviously wants to get to know these people and for them to get to know her. So maybe we have to look at, why is she trying to achieve her aim in this way? And then we have to ask, who's coaching the other kids on their social skills? Maybe not to run away and isolate a peer. We have to look at that also. What sort of nonverbal cues were given in the group by the leaders of the group? Because there's always a hierarchy in groups. And, maybe some of the kids would have liked to have listened to Melissa, but felt they couldn't. What stopped them? So we're investigating the group dynamics there to see what happened. And that's what happens a lot of the time. Like the group leader sends nonverbal cues to the others, and basically there's peer pressure there then to follow what the leader does. Another question would be, Why is Melissa talking about her special interest? Why is talking about a special interest a comfortable way for Melissa to connect, or at least try to connect? And that's a really important question. And why does Spiderman mean so much to her? What have Melissa's previous experiences with peers been like? What has happened before this interaction? How do people interact with her when she was in preschool, at creche? How do her family interact with her? How has that led to all of this? Whoops! Nearly had a disaster there. How good are other kids at showing empathy? Is that an empathetic response? And why couldn't they be empathetic in that situation as well? We need to ask those questions. What have other kids been taught by their culture and social world? And why do they think this sort of response is acceptable to Melissa, and why are her feelings not being taken into account? And they're all really, really important questions. And they're things that we need to explore when we're talking about teaching kids social emotional skills and all of that. A lot of the time they're just learning from, of course, what the adults are doing. So maybe we need to look at our own skills. If Melissa was a popular kid, how might this group of kids respond differently? And what does that tell us? Okay, so we need to explore all of these questions. How safe does Melissa feel in this situation if she tries to engage with others using something that makes her feel safe? Because she's using a special interest. She's talking about Spiderman. So why is it that she's trying to navigate the situation in this way? And we really need to explore that one. If this is Melissa's experience when she tries to connect, how does it affect her mental health, her self-esteem, how she feels about herself? And then how will that impact her the next time she tries to engage with people? We have to ask, how does her emotional state influence her cognitive function, or executive function and ability to communicate? These are all very important questions. And then we also have to look at, of course, how is Melissa's mental and emotional state before she approaches the group? Is she relaxed or is she anxious? So these are lots of questions, and these are the kind of questions that we explore together in the Get Konnected course, which we call a neuro-affirming social skills course. But what it really is for practitioners who really want to support an autistic child through all of these negative experiences. And that's a difficult task. And the first thing is we have to understand how traumatic these experiences can be, and all the things that have gone before that have led up to these experiences. And then develop, tailor-made strategies for your client. Because even when I write my books, I'm writing for a general audience. Every kid or teen is going to have different needs, and we need to be able to meet them. So that's one part of what it means to be, neuro-affirming in kind of socially supporting autistic kids and teens. But then also there's a huge part, which is educating everybody else around them and how to go about that. And if you're a therapist or a practitioner, you may be working with schools, or you might be in a position to advise schools, and we can work through those kind of strategies in the 5-day program. You can learn how to, educate parents, and so the parents can educate other people in Melissa's life and all the children you work with life. So there's a lot of work when we talk about, becoming neuro-affirming. And some people think it's just kind of changing language. And I'm seeing a lot of that lately where people are saying, oh, neuro-affirming is this, and this. But yet what they're putting out there is not neuro-affirming, or their understanding of what's happening is not neuro-affirming. And I get it. It takes a long time. It took me a long time, to actually break through all these barriers, all this conditioning, to see exactly what my work should look like. And even for a while, the theory, my ideas, the neuro-affirming stuff I was putting out there didn't really match the practical side of my work. So it does take time, absolutely. And I suppose that's why we have developed the 5-day course, because it gives people space, it gives people time to work through this stuff and work through it together. And as an autistic learner and educator, you know, I take a collaborative approach, and everybody who comes to our courses, you know, has a part in this learning. That is, I suppose, how I approach learning and always have. It's not kind of talking at people, because you know what, sometimes we just need to facilitate or create a space where people can discuss and unravel and come to their own conclusions, which is probably the best type of learning. So if you want to know more about our Get Konnected course, pop onto the website, have a look. I'm delivering it in UK and European times, starting in mid-September. And then Yale Clark, who's an autistic psychologist in Melbourne, is going to be delivering it online as well for people around Australia to suit your time zones. And that will be starting at the end of October. So we'd love to see you there, and we'd love having these discussions and really delving into things. And I love how every course is different, because different people bring you know, different things and different ideas. So if you'd like to know more, send me a message. Always happy to chat, or have, you know, hop on a call with anybody who wants to know more about it. Thanks everyone.